Hola, hello. I am the Humble Apprentice, your Friday host. Welcome back to Witches of the Moon. This is season 11, week 17, and this week's topic is spell writing, tips and tricks. It seems that I covered a lot of the tips and tricks in last week's episode of Share a Spell, where we actually went over the creation of a spell, or the way I go through and most of the aspects that I incorporate into creating a spell. So for this week, I'm just going to create a short video where we just go over some of the things that you can add or use to get inspiration and to get some ideas on how to create your spell. You can get yourself a spell book. Now, I wouldn't just go through and create the spell exactly the way the book says, because this was created by a witch that had her own desires and energy put into her spells. Right? And it's a great reference book, but it's a reference book. You know, you should use it for inspiration. You should use it so you can see what she did to create her spells, see what she does and how she uses language to communicate an idea, to elicit an energy, to bring forth the power of the energy of the element, and make the spell your own. That's like really important, to make it so that you can feel the energy, so it resonates with you, so it makes sense to you, so it feels good to you. Another thing that you need is some kind of a journal. I have this this cellar book. It is actually to catalog wines, but I catalog the oils I make, the spells I write, and I put in as much detail as I can remember, or as I can at the time write down. Let me see, I've got a little list here. So write down the correspondences, and for that, you know that I love my correspondence books. Llewellyn, Book of Correspondence. Cunningham books, for example, the Complete Book of Incense, Oils, and Brews, the Wicca book, and any book that I find inspiring, that I find information that gives me ideas, you know, on how to use herbs, how to use crystals, and things that make sense to me, that feel right. You will read something and then it'll look very clear to you. It'll feels right as you read it. You can borrow books from the library if you don't want to invest in something because you're not sure if that's the right book for you. You can certainly request it if they don't have it in their library. They can get it from a different library, and that way you can test drive it. And then if it makes sense and you like it, go. Poetry books on how to write poetry help also. For those of you that really enjoy the rhythmic or spells that rhyme, where you use language in repeating form, very helpful for that. For me, the spell doesn't have to rhyme. It just has to be honest, and it has to be true to me. It has to make sense, and I have to believe it. It has to feel true to the core of me. Oh, I use a moon app. I have it on my phone. It tells me the time of day, where the moon is, where the sun is. I get alerts on my calendar when the full moon, the quarter, and the waxing and waning aspects of the moon happen. The new moon, the full moon, when I'm going to have an eclipse or a supermoon, and then I rearrange it because I like to get the notification a couple days prior so I can prepare, especially if I'm going to be creating spells or an oil. I want a little bit of time to gather the ingredients. Another thing that you can do, which I find really helpful, is to sit down. In the summer, you can sit down under a tree, by the river, by the lake, in the lake, and just breathe. And if you don't want to meditate, you don't have to. If you can, if you choose to, you can. And sit down and think to yourself, what is it that I want? What is important to you in that moment when everything else is still, when nothing else is intruding upon your mind? What makes you smile? What brings you joy? What do you want to bring into your life? That's one way that you can get inspiration as to what it is that you want to create the spell for. Document everything. If you're going to use candles, what size candle, what color candle, if it had any scent, if you had any essential oils, did you anoint it with an essential oil or any particular type of oil? Did you use a wand? Did you use crystals? Everything that you use for that spell, write it down, journal it down so that you can recreate it at a later date if you want to, if it works out, if it was a potent spell. Also, think about, you may want to pass your Book of Shadows down to a relative or a child, or an apprentice of yours. Very helpful to write down your information. When you get an inspiration, when you get a moment, it doesn't have to be in anything in particular. Whatever you can, just write it down, because that moment you have clarity, you have a desire, and you have the universe trying to get you a moment of serendipity or clarity or inspiration. Your inner child, your inner self, whatever you identify with, you're connecting with that. So write down all your ideas, then create a spell to manifest that idea. These are just some of the things that you can use to inspire you, to give you an idea of how to sit down and how to start, how to begin the process of writing a spell. A book that already has spells in it can be helpful. Let's see if you can read it. There we go. But it's not about plagiarism. It's not about stealing somebody's idea. It's about making it your spell. Taking the material that they used and finding the morsels that inspire you, the chunks or the parts that resonate as true in your heart, so that it becomes easy to manifest that idea, to bring that into the physical realm. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great evening, and blessed be.